Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're taking a scalpel to a really critical and honestly super timely story. It gets right to the heart of modern security.
We're talking about surveillance systems,
Right.
right? The cameras and access controls we see everywhere.
Exactly. The hardware that's watching everything from, city traffic to the server room door in your office.
And this isn't just some minor bug. We're looking at two newly disclosed high-severity stack overflow vulnerabilities, and they affect Hikvision devices.
And for anyone who might not know, Hikvision is, well, they're one of the biggest providers of these systems on the planet.
Which means the scope here is just enormous.
That's the word right there, scope. We've got two flaws, CVE-2025-66176 and CVE-2025-66177. And when you see the severity scores, it basically tells you everything.
It really does. Both flaws have the exact same CVSS score, an 8.8 out of 10. And a number that high, it's just a massive flashing red light.
A huge red light. It means it's, easy to exploit and the damage is potentially catastrophic?
That's the potent combination, yes.
Yes. Okay, so our mission today is to really dig into this. We need to break down the tech-like what actually went wrong here. We have to translate that 8.8 score into what it means for a business, in the real world.
And we also need to put this in context. This isn't the first time we've seen this kind of issue, not by a long shot.
Right. It's about a pattern. So let's start there with the flaw itself. When we hear stack overflow, it sounds pretty technical, a bit abstract.
It's a classic, though. One of the oldest attacks in the book.
So what's the mechanism here?
Well, think of it like this. Imagine you have a small box, and it's designed to hold exactly 10 letters. A stack overflow is when an attacker manages to force, say, 100 letters into that box.
Okay, so it all spills out.
Exactly. The extra data spills out and overwrites whatever was next to it in the computer's memory on the stack. Usually the goal is either to run malicious code or, in this specific case, to just crash the whole device.
And the way they get in is through something called the search and discovery feature. That doesn't sound like a very secure part of the system.
It's not supposed to be. It's built for convenience. It's a basic utility that helps, for example, your video recorder find a new camera you just plugged into the network.
So it's always running, always listening.
Always. And it usually doesn't need a password or anything, so it's a gold mine for an attacker. They just send one specially crafted, oversized data packet to this feature, the buffer overflows, and poof, the system freezes up or reboots.
And this isn't just affecting one or two devices, is it?
Oh, not at all. The list is pretty extensive. The first CVE, that's 66176, hits their access control products.
So card readers, door locks, the things that physically let people in and out.
Right. And the second one, 66177, is even broader. It affects their NVRs, DVRs, and IP cameras.
NVRs being the network video recorders.
Yeah.
Basically the brains of the whole operation.
The brains, the eyes, and the memory of the security system, all vulnerable. When these things go down, the whole system is blind.
It's also worth noting where these reports came from, right? This isn't just random.
No, it's coming from serious security auditing. The first flaw was found by Cisco Talos, a huge player in security research. And second was reported by two independent researchers. It just shows you need people constantly poking and prodding these systems to keep them honest.
Okay, so let's talk about that 8.8 score. Because it feels like denial of service flaws in IoT devices are, a dime a dozen. But 8.8 is high. The real danger here seems to be how incredibly easy this is to pull off.
That's it, exactly. The vector is terrifyingly simple. The high score is all about how few hoops an attacker has to jump through.
So let's break that down. What are the requirements? What does an attacker actually need to do?
It starts with something called adjacent network access, or AVA. Now, this is the part that can trip people up.
Right, because when you hear that, you think, oh, well, they can't attack it from across the internet, so it's not that bad.
Exactly the misconception. You might think it lowers the risk, but in a corporate or critical infrastructure setting, adjacent access can actually be a lower bar. An attacker doesn't need to get through your main internet firewall. They just need to get onto the same local network. That could be the office Wi-Fi, a guest network that wasn't set up right, or even a contractor who plugs their laptop into a wall port.
So we're not talking about some sophisticated nation-state hacker from halfway across the world. This could be an insider or just someone who got a foothold on one machine inside the network.
Precisely. It lowers the skill level needed to cause real disruption.
Oh, okay.
And it gets even easier.
Okay.
The next part is no privileges, or PRN. That means the attacker doesn't need a username. They don't need a password. Nothing.
They just send the packet.
They just send the packet. And finally, No user interaction-UIN. No one has to click a bad link. No one has to open a malicious email. The attack is completely silent. It's fire and forget.
So to recap, you get on the local network, you find the device, you send one bad packet, and that's it. No password, no user has to do anything dumb.
And because it's so simple to do, the complexity is rated low. That 8.8 score starts to make a whole lot of sense. It's minimum effort for maximum impact.
And that impact is rated as high across the board, isn't it? Confidentiality, integrity, and availability.
Yes, CHIHAH. We usually focus on the availability part, the AH, which means the device crashes. A surveillance blackout.
But what about high integrity, the IH? What does that mean for a camera? It's not like you're changing a bank balance.
No, but integrity is critical here. While a crash is the most likely outcome, a flaw like this could be engineered to do more. The high integrity rating suggests an attacker might be able to modify or even delete data.
So they could wipe the recordings.
Imagine it. They not only cause a blackout during an incident, but they also manage to corrupt or delete all the footage leading up to it. The entire audit trail is gone.
That's a temporary failure turning into a permanent blind spot, a complete investigative dead end.
That's the catastrophic outcome. Your security system, the thing meant to provide evidence and assurance, is completely subverted.
You know, this isn't happening in a vacuum. It feels like we've been talking about vulnerabilities in this exact space for years now.
We have. This advisory drops into a climate of, frankly, heightened concern over video surveillance security. We saw other major Hikvision advisories just last year.
And government agencies like CISA have been sounding the alarm too, right?
Yeah.
Specifically about supply chain risks in this kind of hardware.
Absolutely. So for years, the message has been, you need to be careful about the hardware you deploy. You need to understand where it comes from. And now, on top of those bigger strategic concerns, we're seeing these foundational, almost basic engineering flaws.
So what does that pattern tell you?
It suggests that these core low-level functions, like search and discovery, aren't getting the same level of security scrutiny as, say, the web login page. They're these old, convenient protocols that are just assumed to be safe because they only work on the local network.
But as we've just discussed, that's a terrible assumption.
It's a huge blind spot, and the experts are really hammering this point home. LAN-adjacent attacks lower the bar for disruption. It just makes it easier for more people to cause damage.
So if I'm a security manager listening to this, my threat model has to change. I'm not just worried about the main firewall anymore.
You're worried about the contractor in the wiring closet. You're worried about the guest Wi-Fi that isn't properly segmented from the main network. You have to start treating your internal network as a potential battleground.
Which dictates the response, I guess. How does an organization even know if they're exposed right now?
The first step is to scan immediately. You need to use tools like Nmap, for example, to map out your internal network. You have to specifically look for these devices and see if their discovery ports are exposed to anyone who shouldn't have access.
You can't patch what you can't find.
Exactly. Find them first.
Okay, so that's the immediate triage. Let's move to the solution. What do people need to do right now, and what's the long-term fix?
The immediate, most urgent fix is simple: patch. Hikvision has released new firmware. You have to go to their official site, download it, and install it. With an 8.8 vulnerability, this is a race against time.
And if for some reason you can't patch immediately, maybe it's a huge hospital with hundreds of cameras.
Then you need to mitigate. Hikvision gave 2 key steps, and both are about breaking that adjacent network vector. First, network segmentation.
Putting the cameras and recorders on their own little isolated network.
Yes. A separate VLAN. You make it so the only things that can talk to the security gear are the authorized security management stations. A compromised laptop on the main office Wi-Fi can't even see the cameras anymore.
So it can't send the malicious packet. What's the second step?
It's even simpler. Disable the unused discovery features. If your system is already set up, if all your cameras are configured, you don't need this feature running 24/7. Turn it off.
Reduce the attack surface. It's always the best first move.
It's the cheapest and most effective thing you can do.
It's just amazing how often it's these convenience features that open the biggest doors. So, beyond the patch, what's the bigger picture here? How do we stop this cycle?
The consensus from the security community is pretty clear. Vendors have to get serious about zero-trust architecture, even in these embedded systems.
Zero trust for a camera? How does that work? I thought the whole point was that it's inside your trusted building.
That's the old way of thinking. Zero trust means getting rid of that idea of a trusted internal network. It means a camera shouldn't automatically trust the video recorder just because they're plugged into the same switch.
So every single communication would need to be checked.
Authenticated, authorized, and encrypted, even if they're 2 feet apart. If you do that, these kinds of attacks that rely on no privileges, they become impossible. The attacker would have to steal credentials first.
The discovery feature would ask for a password before it even listened to the request.
Exactly. It would stop the overflow before it could ever happen. It's a fundamental shift, away from perimeter security to assuming you're already compromised.
Okay, so let's quickly summarize what we've covered. We have two very serious 8.8 rated vulnerabilities in Hikvision gear.
They're stack overflows targeting a basic network discovery feature.
And the high score comes from the attack being so easy. You need to be on the local network, but you don't need a password, and the user doesn't have to do anything.
Right. And the result can be a total surveillance blackout, potentially even with data loss. So the immediate actions are to patch, segment your network, and turn off features you don't need.
But let's leave our listeners with a final thought on this.
You're correct.
If these basic convenience protocols, the things that are just supposed to help devices find each other on a network, can be used to cause a total system failure, what does that say about the trade-off we're making between ease of use and real security?
And I'll add to that. If we keep seeing stack overflows, one of the oldest vulnerability types in history, repeatedly knocking over our critical safety and security systems, are we just accepting that our infrastructure is fundamentally brittle by design? If the industry wants to break this cycle of patch, panic, repeat, the whole philosophy has to change. It has to be security first, not convenience first.
A powerful thought to end on. Thanks for joining us for the deep dive.
Thanks for having me.
We'll see you next time.